In a small village nestled at the foot of a great mountain range, there lived a wise man. The people of the village would come to him with their troubles, their woes, and their fears. The wise man would listen intently, nodding his head as they spoke, and then he would offer them his sage advice. But no matter what the problem was, it seemed that the people always came back with the same complaints. They were worried about their crops failing, worried about their health, worried about the future of their children. They came to the wise man day after day, seeking comfort and solace, but their problems never seemed to go away. One day, the wise man decided that he had had enough. He had heard the same complaints too many times, and he was tired of offering the same advice. So he decided to teach them a lesson that they would never forget. He gathered the people of the village in the square, and he began to tell them a joke. It was a silly joke, a joke that made no sense at all. But the people laughed anyway. They laughed long and hard, their faces turning red with mirth. They laughed until tears streamed down their faces and their sides ached with the effort. The wise man waited patiently for them to calm down, and then he told them the same joke again. This time only a few people laughed. The rest of the villagers looked at him with mild amusement, but they did not find the joke as funny as they had the first time. The wise man waited a moment longer, and then he told the joke for the third time. This time, no one laughed at all. They looked at him with a mix of irritation and boredom, wondering why he kept telling them the same joke over and over again. The wise man smiled at them, and he said, "You can't laugh at the same joke over and over again. So why are you always crying about the same problem?" The people of the village looked at him, unsure of what he meant. They had come to him with their problems because they didn't know what else to do. They had hoped that he would have the answers, that he would know how to make things better. But they were beginning to realize that maybe they were expecting too much. The wise man continued, "Worrying won't solve your problems. It'll just waste your time and energy. You must learn to let go of your worries and focus on what you can do to make things better." The people of the village nodded slowly, starting to understand what he was trying to tell them. They had been so focused on their problems that they had forgotten to enjoy life, to laugh and to love. They had been so consumed by their worries that they had forgotten to appreciate the beauty of the world around them. The wise man's words stayed with them long after he had gone, and they began to change their ways. They started to focus on the things that they could control, rather than worrying about the things they couldn't. They began to appreciate the little things in life, the things that they had taken for granted before. And they began to laugh again, to really laugh, not just out of obligation, but because they had rediscovered the joy of living. The wise man's words resonated with the people who had gathered around him. They realized that they had been stuck in a cycle of complaining about their problems without taking any action to solve them. As they pondered over his words, the wise man continued his story. Once there was a young man named Ali who lived in a small village. Ali was always worried about his future and his lack of wealth. He would spend hours each day worrying about how he would make ends meet and provide for his family. Despite his worries, Ali never took any action to improve his situation. He believed that worrying was enough to solve his problems. One day, Ali decided to seek the advice of the village wise man. He went to the wise man's home and told him about his worries. The wise man listened patiently and then said, Ali, worrying won't solve your problems. You need to take action. Ali was taken aback. He had never thought about taking action to improve his situation. He always believed that worrying was enough. The wise man continued, Ali, you have to realize that worrying is a waste of your time and energy. Instead of worrying, you should focus on what you can do to improve your situation. The wise man then gave Ali a task. He asked Ali to plant a small seed in his garden and nurture it every day. Ali did as he was told and watered the seed every day. Over time, the seed grew into a small plant. Ali was amazed at how a small seed had turned into a plant with so much potential. The wise man then said, Ali, just like this seed, you to have the potential to grow and achieve great things, but you have to take action and nurture your potential every day instead of worrying. Focus on what you can do to improve your situation. Ali left the wise man's home feeling inspired. He realized that he had been wasting his time and energy worrying about his problems. Instead of taking action to solve them, he started to take small steps every day to improve his situation. He worked hard and eventually he was able to start a small business. Over time, his business grew and he was able to provide for his family and live a comfortable life. The people who had gathered around the wise man listened to his story and realized that they had the potential to grow and achieve great things. They realized that worrying was a waste of their time and energy, and that they needed to take action to improve their situations. The wise man smiled and said, remember, just like Ali, you to have the potential to grow and achieve great things, but you have to take action and nurture your potential every day. Worrying won't solve your problems. It'll just waste your time and energy. After the wise man finished his story, the villagers sat in silence, contemplating what he had said. For some, it was a wake-up call, a realization that they had been wasting their time and energy worrying about things they couldn't control. For others, it was a revelation, a newfound understanding that they needed to change their ways slowly. The villagers began to transform. They started to take action instead of simply worrying. They tackled problems head-on rather than dwelling on them. They sought solutions rather than getting lost in the negativity of their problems. The wise man was overjoyed to see the transformation taking place. He had longed to help the villagers for so long, and now he was finally seeing progress. But he knew that the real task was yet to come. One day, a group of villagers came to the wise man with a problem. They had been trying to build a bridge over a river for weeks, but no matter what they did, they couldn't seem to make any progress. They were frustrated, exhausted, and ready to give up. The wise man listened to their problem and thought for a moment. Then he gave them a simple piece of advice: stop worrying and start building. The villagers were taken aback. They had expected the wise man to offer them some profound insight or solution, but instead he was telling them to do something they had already been doing. But then they realized that the wise man was right. They had been so focused on worrying about the bridge that they had forgotten to actually build it. So they took the wise man's advice and got back to work. And miraculously, the bridge began to take shape. With each passing day, it grew stronger and more stable. And when it was finally completed, the villagers rejoiced. They knew that they had accomplished something truly remarkable, not just in building the bridge, but in overcoming their own fears and worries. They had learned to focus on solutions rather than problems, and to take action rather than sitting idly by. The wise man smiled as he watched the villagers celebrate. He knew that they had come a long way, but he also knew that there would be more challenges ahead. But he was confident that the villagers were ready to face them, armed with the knowledge and wisdom that they had gained. And so, the wise man continued to offer his guidance and advice to the villagers, helping them to navigate the ups and downs of life, and the villagers in turn continued to learn and grow, always striving to be better and to make the world a better place. For in the end, that was the true moral of the story, that by facing our problems head-on and focusing on solutions, we can transform ourselves and the world around us.